Welcome to the Happy Black Woman Podcast, where we're on a mission to empower women to transform their lives through personal development and entrepreneurship. We bring you all the information, inspiration, and motivation you need to create a life of happiness, success, and freedom. Now, please welcome your host, the happy black woman herself, Rosetta Thurman.
Hello to all my happy black women. It's Rosetta, and I am delighted to welcome you back to the Happy Black Woman Podcast. And today we have a bit of a different topic. We're going to be talking about your health, your wellness, your fitness. And we have a special guest, Dr. Phoenyx Austin, to help us through it. Welcome, Dr. Phoenyx.
Hello, how you doing?
Nice to have you on the show. As most of you know, I always like to tell you the crazy stories of how I meet people and how they end up on the podcast. But with Dr. Phoenyx, it really was a recommendation from someone on my team who was definitely into health style and veganism and all of that. She was like, you need to talk to this woman. And when my team talks, I listen. And so I am just getting to know Dr. Phoenyx today versus watching your YouTube videos and looking at your website and reading all your good stuff there. So it's going to be a really fun interview because I am on my health journey as well, as many of you know. So with that said, Dr. Phoenyx, tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, my name, like you said, is Dr. Phoenyx Austin. I go by Dr. Phoenyx for short, or just Doc. A lot of people just call me Doc. So I am a MD by training. I'm also a fitness and nutrition specialist. I hold certification as a sports medicine specialist and a sports nutrition specialist. And basically, I built this brand and also work as a consultant with other brands outside of mine. And basically built a brand where, my mission is to help women achieve our most fit and beautiful body. That's basically what it boils down to.
Mm-hmm. I love that as your mission. And you have a very interesting story about how you came to this work. I had a read of your story on your website. I was like, this girl has done a lot to get here. So can you tell us a little bit about your background? I know that there's medical background, there's your own weight loss journey. Give us a little insight into that.
So medical background, I went to med school at Meharry Medical College in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a proud Meharian. It's one of the oldest HBCUs in the U.S. and graduates some amazing doctors, dentists, PhD folks. So proud Meharian. And after I graduated from med school, I also spent time with the military as a military physician. And from when I was in med school, I was already, I would say, planning what I wanted to do long term with my career, which was outside of actually clinical medicine. I knew that I wanted to pursue something a little bit bigger than being, a doc in the box or a hospitalist. So while I was in med school, I was indulging a lot of my joys and my passions. One of them was writing. So I wrote a couple of articles when I was in my third year. One of them was about a patient that we were treating that had diabetes. She was an elderly woman and she wasn't staying on top of her medication. We'd been seeing her for a few months and she was non-compliant with her diabetes. It was very, very much uncontrolled. And then one day she came into the clinic and I still remember the smell, like the whole experience. We were in the hallway, us third-year medical students, and you could smell this, like the stench of rotting flesh. And everybody was like looking around like, what died in here? What's going on? And the nurse came up to us, the triage nurse, and she told us that the woman was in the room and we had to go see her. And she was like, this is really, really serious. So you guys want to take a doctor in with you. This is not your typical visit follow-up. And we went in and ultimately what had happened was she had stepped on a nail. And because her diabetes was uncontrolled, she had lost a lot of sensation in her foot. She didn't know that she stepped on the nail and had cut herself. She lived in a really, really old rundown house in Nashville. And her foot basically became infected and ultimately necrotic. And we had to amputate her foot like that day. So I remember, and I'd seen this woman multiple visits and we talked about her diabetes medication, how important it was for her to take it and watch what she was eating. And like many patients, you don't notice how serious something is until like the whammy comes down. And for her, the whammy was the foot amputation. So I just remember that whole experience and how, for me, it really, really hammered home the importance of taking care of myself and eating quality foods and just being on top of my nutrition and my fitness. I already was, but it was like that experience really brought it home for me, because it literally, like, that's what happens. A lot of people don't realize that the big shift is usually like something very, very traumatic that happens to you that drives home the point. But I knew that I did not want to be in that situation where something huge and traumatic happened. Yeah. And she was a wonderful woman. And I remember her sons, she had 2 sons. She lived alone. They were in the Nashville, Memphis area. So they drove in. And when we had to tell her that we were amputating her foot, I mean, this woman just like literally broke down and started praying and crying and just couldn't believe it that we were going to do something like that. But we had to, or else she would just die. The infection would spread. And her sons were crying. They felt guilty because they felt like if they had checked on her more often, they could have probably prevented it. But yeah, that was a very, very profound experience. And even like pushed me even more into my passion for nutrition. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of like my starting. But what got me into, I guess, the communications aspect of what I do, which is consulting, and then what you guys see on YouTube, is I was writing these articles, and one of them got picked up by the local Fox news station, and they really, really enjoyed it. And I wrote it in a way of like a creative nonfiction. So I didn't reveal her name, but I talked about the experience in a way of storytelling, which is what I like to do. I like to, communicate things very lay, where people can understand it. My goal is so people understand. So I'm not going to use, language or talk in a way where I'm talking over somebody's head, because that completely, you lose the whole point of the experience. Yeah. So when I wrote it, it got picked up by someone at the local station, read it in the newspaper, and they brought me in to do a segment on TV as a med student, and I went on TV with my little white coat, and it was insane. Like it was so much fun to talk about it. And that's where I kind of my life started to shift a little bit towards communications, and then thinking to myself, I want to write a book. I want to do things that are a little bit abnormal from the typical MD. And I kept up with that. I went up, subsequently graduated, went into the military, still kept writing, was getting more TV opportunities, radio. And that's where I ultimately, once I spent my time with the military, I came back. I was in San Antonio, Texas at Lackland Air Force Base. Then I came back to the East Coast, landed in DC, and started doing even more work. Wrote my first book while I was in DC, which is a bestseller. It was my first book out the gate on natural hair care. If you love it, it will grow. Yeah. And how that came about was really, really cool. I was actually writing for many different publications, but I was writing for Ebony and Essence at the same time. And I was giving content that was more geared towards healthy eating and fitness. And the editor they were just moving to the digital space. So a lot of the stuff that I was giving was for their print publication. And as they were moving to the digital space, they were getting pictures, headshots of people to put up on the site as expert contributors. And I can't remember which publication it was, to be honest with you, but they asked for a headshot, and I gave them a headshot with my hair out. And they put it up, and it just went nuts. So it was like an article on fitness, but my headshot was down a bit. And the editor at the time, she told me that they started getting flooded in their inbox from women that were just like, yeah, this fitness stuff is cool, but let's talk about hair. And
that was your first book, your hair book.
That was my first book. Exactly. But I took it from a direction that at least that I saw, nobody was taking it from, because I was like, look, I want to do this from a holistic standpoint, from inside out. We're going to talk about nutrition. We're going to talk about fitness. We're going to talk about all these things that I felt like were neglected in the beauty space that are really important. So that kind of like spun me into where I am now, where I still do a little bit of beauty stuff, but it's always from the inside out. And then I also do stuff on nutrition and fitness. And here I am today. So I have my brand in itself, the Dr. Phoenyx brand, and other products that are basically affiliated with me. And then I also do consulting with other brands that want to develop content around wellness, health, nutrition, beauty. And that's pretty much me in a nutshell and how I got here today.
I love it. I love your story. And there's so much that we can talk about as it relates to all those different topics. But today I definitely want to focus on healthy eating, because that's a huge topic in our community. and a journey that I had been on for a long time because I love my sweets. I love my junk food and all that. But I love how you talk about, beauty from the inside out, and know that this whole wellness and having this type of healthy lifestyle has a lot to do with how we feel about ourselves, our own level of self-love and self-worth and all of that. So I'm excited to get into that too. But just to get us at a baseline, like for all the women that are listening and they're like, okay, they're going to your site and like, wow, Dr. Phoenyx has got it together. Just tell us from your perspective, like, what was your journey like? I mean, were you always healthy, or did you get to a point in your life where you were like, okay, I am going to make a change in my health, and that led you down this path? Was there anything in your personal experience that you can share?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for the most part, I'm a tomboy at heart. So I've always been into sports, very, very active. So I've always maintained like a pretty healthy weight and very, very fit. And honestly, where my health started to go downhill was like when I entered medical school, to be completely honest with you. The lifestyle was just so demanding and hectic. There was an abundance of like really sugary, fatty, fast food around the place. And one of the big things that I used to go after and my fellow classmates that ultimately led to me gaining a lot of weight was coffee, like really, really sugary, and we know the brands that have like the sugar and the cream and just the sugar bombs. And I used to use those to stay energized, to stay up long hours, studying and rounds in the hospital. So a lot of us turn to that. And when you're also, slammed for time, a lot of times people can offset that with an abundance of exercise to burn off the calories. Unfortunately, I had hit a point in my life where we were so busy that there was really no time to exercise. So unfortunately, the pounds started to sneak up and accumulate and accumulate. And the experience with that woman where we had to amputate her foot, that was kind of my shock to the system that got me back. And I was just like, and then I didn't feel good, to be honest with you. Like I felt sluggish. I felt tired all the time. Yeah. My white coat was tight on me, and it was just like, I don't feel good like this. Yeah. So yeah, I really had to kind of retreat back to a place of like, what was genuine to me? What did I love about myself? Was I treating myself with the utmost love and care? And I realized that I wasn't. So I just corrected form. And, I got my diet in check. I got my fitness back on. I was able to subsequently construct a lifestyle and a career that I believe the center of it is nutrition and fitness. So now it's seamless. It's very, very easy for me to stay in shape because my whole life is built around this.
Right. I love that. And I love that you shared your personal story, because a lot of people that may look at you and they're like, oh, well, you've always been like this and you've never had any, struggles with your weight or with your health or anything like that. And I think it just brings home the message that everyone has to focus on these things. No one is just like automatically, healthy or automatically thin or whatever it is. People who are very healthy and have that lifestyle, they work at it and they make it a priority and a commitment. So for our ladies listening, they're like, okay, maybe they are where you were. Like they're in a demanding job. And, yes. I know a lot of our listeners, they have a full-time job and they want to build a business on the side and they want to, improve themselves in other areas. And that all takes time. And they find it very difficult to do all those things and cook the healthy food. Just to cook any food at night, is a challenge for a lot of our ladies, especially with children and working long hours and then working on their business. It is about convenience. It is about that. So from that perspective, what are some tips that you can give to our ladies who are just wanting to get back into their health and really focus on it, but really starting with the eating? Because I know for a lot of our ladies, that's where they struggle the most, is with the healthy eating. So for that busy woman who has a 9-to-5 and a business on the side and kids and all these other things, what are your best tips for how she can start eating healthy? Not like at the level that you are, but just getting started.
Well, I'm glad you started with eating, because honestly, nutrition is going to be the foundation and it's going to make it so much easier. And I think I alluded to it or maybe said it before, like women and just people in general, just women and men, they don't focus on nutrition and they try to beat themselves up with exercise. And then that's how they burn out.
Yeah.
Like you literally try to undo all the damage with exercise, which there aren't enough hours in a day, to be quite honest. Like if we were to get into the physiology of it, which is totally boring, but it like literally you don't have enough hours in a day to burn off all that unhealthy stuff that you're eating.
Yeah. Well, let me just underscore that. So ladies, if you're listening, you're taking notes, what Dr. Phoenix just said is very important, because I think that a lot of us have had this belief. I know that I've known people like that I'm just like, man, you just eat whatever you want. And like, oh yeah, but I exercise, so it's okay. And, they do the 1 hour a day in the gym before work, after work, whatever. And what you're telling us is that's a myth. That's not enough. That doesn't really work.
Exactly. And it's constantly being shown that all calories are not created equal. So while the whole calorie in, calorie out mantra is a good place to start from, like I share that with people on my channel, that's a good place to start. At least be aware of that what you put in, you got to burn off. At the same time, all calories are not created equal. Like I said, if we were to get in the nitty gritty of it, the calories that you get from sugar are not being utilized and burned off the same way that the calories that you get from protein or fats.
Yeah.
So you've got to be cognizant of it. And it's going to make your life a lot simpler and not drive you absolutely crazy or make you feel like you've got to spend an hour in the gym. Because I don't even spend, crazy amounts of time in the gym, and I still eat cheat meals. Like I love food. Like I absolutely love. Like, I don't want anybody to have this misconception, like I don't eat or I don't enjoy food. Like I love food. It's just that I've learned enough about nutrition and I know enough hacks that I'm able to do stuff that some people think, you can't do, or they're just not aware of. So, and the way I can do that is through my nutrition first. And then exercise to me is like the icing on the cake.
Right. I love that. So really the part that takes, I don't know how much time you would say it takes, but the part that for me it's less strenuous for me to prepare healthy food than it is for me to get in the gym every day. It's good news because we can work on this piece and have some results. So what would be your tips for how we can have results and get started with healthy eating?
So one thing with healthy eating is reading nutrition labels. A lot of people don't read the nutrition facts. And when I say that, like I'm talking about the supplement facts, and honing in on sugar. That's like one of the biggest things that's causing people weight gain. And they're trying to figure out what is going on here. Why isn't the weight coming off? If you would get excess sugar, like, sugar is necessary for the body. It's a source of energy. Like basically look at it that way. Sugar is a source of energy. Your body's using it as fuel. But once you start giving your body too much of that fuel, it's going to turn it into fat. And fat is just stored energy. So it's like putting gas in your car. Eventually, when you fill up your sugar tank, your carb tank, the pump stops. Okay. Once the tank is full, it automatically stops. What happens with people who end up gaining weight and having trouble losing weight, even when they're killing themselves with exercise, is that they keep pushing that button. And the gas keeps overflowing, but it doesn't spill onto the floor. What your body does is it kind of takes imagine like one of those gas containers, and it just fills it up. It just keeps filling it up, and then it sticks it on the roof of your car. And then you're driving around with that. That's the excess body fat. Okay. And that's what happens to people. So number one, it's the biggest thing, and it's in a lot of foods, unfortunately, nowadays, because it tastes so good. I mean, from a evolutionary standpoint, sugar is something that we just love because it was so rare for us. So now it's in abundance. We go crazy over it. So getting excess sugar out of your diet. Number two, more water. Okay. And this is going to be easy, because a lot of the drinks that people consume today is loaded with sugar. So actually, I remember one of the things that I wrote about when I was in med school was a patient that we had. She hated exercise. And one of the recommendations that I gave to her, because I was like, this is going to go right to the sugar issue. She used to drink like 3 to 4 cans of Coke a day. So I was like, okay, you don't have to exercise, but you can't have Coke anymore.
Yeah.
You can have water, you can have, carbonated water, sparkling water, whatever. You just can't have the Coke. And she lost weight.
Yeah. Just from not drinking the Coke.
Just from not drinking the Coke.
Wow.
She didn't do any exercise, nothing. And then what she ended up doing, because she started losing weight, like she was just blown away that just not drinking the Coke. She actually started to exercise because she wanted to speed up weight loss. Like she kind of got like amped up and was like, okay, if I'm losing weight just with with my diet.
Right.
Guess what I can do if I started exercising?
Right,
So then
right.
she, just added in walking and simple things, and she was able to lose the weight.
I love that. I just want to underscore that one too, because that has always been, Coca-Cola has been my nemesis. Coca-Cola, that was my thing. Sweets in general, but I went through, I was vegan for a little while, then I went vegetarian for a few years, and that lessened my sugar addiction. But that Coke, man, just learning just how much sugar is in it, it's no wonder that if we stop drinking it, it's like 124 cans is like, 120 grams of sugar a day that you're getting rid of.
It's insane. Like the amount of sugar, it's like liquid, it's just liquefied sugar, is what it is. And unfortunately, people don't realize that because they're not reading the nutrition facts. And people that are drinking multiple cans of sugar a day, I mean, just the amount of, multiple cans of sugar.
I love that you said that. Was that. I thought that was intentional.
Freudian slip. That was what it is. I mean, it's and simple little things like that can totally change the direction of how your body burns calories and make it so much easier for you to lose weight. So on that note, the next thing, nutrient that a lot of people need to start upping, especially women, this is something I talk about a lot on my YouTube channel, is upping your protein intake.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of women, I was really surprised. I mean, my background in fitness, I have spent a lot of time with bodybuilders, fitness models, gym junkies, and basically protein is like gold to us. The way it not just, feeds your body with nutrients, but what protein does within your body as far as building lean muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A lot of women are terrified to drink protein shakes because they think they're going to get bulky like dudes.
Yeah.
Totally false. Protein is very, very filling. It's a nutrient that your body is not going to want to convert to fat like sugar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's literally from building muscle, and then let's move over to beauty, hair, skin, and nails, which women are just like amazed that, wait a minute, this is what our body's turning into, our hair, skin, and nails. Absolutely. So in addition to building the lean muscle that's going to help crank up your metabolism, the more muscle you have, body, bottom line, the more muscle you have, the easier it is for your body to burn fat. In fact, your body want to burn off more fat seamlessly because your muscles, they utilize the calories that are floating around and the sugar that's floating around. So when we see men, a lot of times women will say to ourselves, oh, guys can just lose weight because of hormones. No, a lot of times why guys are able to lose weight without even going on a treadmill or doing anything is because of the amount of muscle that they have on their body. So their metabolism is just naturally higher. And you will see guys down protein, the guys that are wanting to lose weight and bulk up, they will down protein like crazy because they know ultimately what that's going to do for their metabolism and their physique.
Mm-hmm. What are some of your favorite forms of protein besides protein shakes and smoothies?
You can get, Whole Foods. That's actually the first thing you need to go after. Like, I'm big on supplementation, but I don't believe supplementation is what you need to go for. It's called a supplement because you add that to the whole food supplement. So Whole Foods. So lean meats. And I'm not vegan, so for anyone who's vegan, who's listening, then of course you need to go for things that are plant-based, that are vegan friendly. So quinoa. I actually did a video on this, like vegan mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was my last video, and it was pretty popular, but I listed also vegan sources on my blog. So for the women that want to check that out, we can link to that. But lean meats are going to be number one. Okay, because meat is basically 100% protein. It's literally taking the flesh of another animal, and now you're incorporating that flesh into your body. It's, it's literally the most optimized way to get protein. To build muscle is to take the muscle. So that's number one, and then you get the plant sources of protein, and that's basically it. So you load up your diet on protein. Like my diet is structured in a way that protein is my number one nutrient that I get into my body. Then fats, and then carbs of the whole totem pole.
I love it.
One of the biggest reasons, why I'm able to stay lean and then have other foods that, I shouldn't have. But in life, I look at it, you have one life, so enjoy it.
Right.
But definitely the bulk of it, like I said, those are the three tips, basically. If you eliminate the sugary drinks, you're going to get more water in. And amp up that protein. Like seriously, it's going to do so much for your body. And then it's also protein. It's a slow burning nutrient.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps you fuller longer. Like a lot of people, when you give them, let's say you put something that's very carby, starchy, whatever in front of somebody, or just sugary.
Yeah.
You'll feel fulfilled in that moment, but then hit them back in like 30 minutes and you're hungry again, or you're tired.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's very heavy with protein, just enough fats, minimal carbs, this person can stay satiated for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the difference in the nutrient composition of their meal.
Oh, I love that. I love that. What about snacks? When people think about snacks, that's where a lot of people have their downfall too, especially being at work and you snack at your desk and then you come home and then you feed the kids dinner and then you're up late working on your business and you're snacking there. That was my thing. Like, I feel like I need something. What are the snacks that maybe have the high protein or the high, plant protein that we can eat that are quick?
Yeah, I like that. Well, let me first start with snacking. A lot of the times with snacking, with people that like need to constantly be snacking is because the nutrition isn't on point. It's the same thing with the sugar. Okay, when you take in an abundance of sugar into your body, your blood sugar goes up significantly. And then when it comes, now you feel good at that time. You feel energized, you feel happy, your belly's fed. But then when that sugar comes down, because insulin's got to come out, it's got to pull that sugar back down to normal levels, there's a certain transient dip where you become hypoglycemic, just transiently. That's where people start getting hungry again. They're like, oh, I need something. And it's not because your body actually needs something. It's because your blood sugar is erratic.
Mm-hmm.
So once you start snacking the same way you structure your meal, so the high protein, high fats, low carbs, you're going to find that you'll be able to go longer periods of time without even thinking about eating. Like, honestly, like people that switch to that kind of eating style, whether you're vegan or paleo or whatever, you will find that you can go longer periods of time and you don't need that snack. A lot of people are just snacking because their blood sugar is erratic and they're constantly just feeding themselves sugar. They've become sugar addicts. And then some people are emotional eaters. You're not really hungry. You're just stressed out. And food is a source of just like comfort.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes very chronic. I find that with a lot of people, it's not that they're hungry. They're either stressed out or their nutrition is very poor.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe people don't eat enough during the different meals, or they're running from one thing to another. Mm-hmm. And I always found that I had to keep something healthy in my purse so I wouldn't like go and buy the Snickers, like to keep a granola bar or some nuts or something. Otherwise, it's like if you have the convenient choice in front of you, a lot of people will take that. So for those, people who have that kind of lifestyle, what should they keep in their bag? Like, are the nuts and the granola bars, are those good, or should we be looking at something else?
Granola bars, I'm not too keen on granola bars because of if you're doing some really healthy granola bars, because there are a lot of, granola bars is a very broad term.
Yeah.
Like I can find some granola bars on the market that are no better than a Snickers.
Yeah.
So once again, you're going to have to read the nutrition facts and pay attention. Like if the granola bar has more sugar than it does protein, that is a candy bar. That's not a granola bar. So it's really going to come down. Just like there are tons on the market that are not healthy, there are tons also that are healthy. Also, I wanted to mention something, and I've talked about this in a previous video, hunger, how we sense hunger is a lot of people are walking around dehydrated. And they don't realize it because they're drinking a ton of soda or juice or whatever. They're not getting enough water. And the way our body signals thirst is kind of crazy. It's kind of kooky. People think it's just, if you're dehydrated, you just get thirsty. It's actually a spectrum of symptoms. And one of the first symptoms of dehydration is hunger. So a lot of people that are constantly feeling hungry during the day, they're probably dehydrated. And if they would drink more water, that would alleviate those hunger pangs. But they don't recognize that because they're sensing it as hunger. It's just what our body does. But they're not taking care of the underlying thing, which is the lack of water.
That's such a great insight. I know I've read articles where people are like, well, before you reach for that snack or whatever, drink a glass of water. And I'm like, but I want a snack. Why would I drink water? this doesn't make any sense. But now I'm getting it. I love that. So those are some great tips to get us started for all the women listening that need to get into a healthy eating lifestyle. And they think that it's going to take this whole big process and they've got to go to Whole Foods every day and but really just starting where you are and using the tips Dr. Phoenyx shared clearly can get you some initial results. And if you want to do more and go further, then you can. But it sounds like these are some really baseline things that we all should be doing.
Yeah, and they're really, like I said, really, really simple things. Like it can get more sophisticated and complex with nutrition, but I really advise women to start from the basics, like we've named off already. And then if you want to speed up, because nutrition by itself, you can lose a lot of weight with just your diet without even throwing exercise. But then exercise, also has its benefits besides just losing weight. And it can make you feel awesome. It releases endorphins and happy chemicals that, there's studies showing exercise's effect on depression.
Yeah.
I definitely advocate exercise, but I view it as like the icing on the cake. And then when it comes to exercise, I'm a strong advocate of doing what you love. Like, do not pick up physical activities that you hate because you will not stick with it.
Yeah.
You won't. So find that thing that is like your, fix. Like, I love doing this. Like, I could do this all day long. It doesn't feel like exercise. And then just latch on to that.
Yeah, I love that too, because so many of us, myself included, try to force ourselves to go to the gym. And after a few years, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stop setting this New Year's resolution that I'm going to go to the gym because I'm not. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to beat myself up about it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to focus on eating better and taking walks, doing yoga.
Nice.
That's what I'm going to do.
Nice.
And let it go,
And walking is amazing. I mean, it's an amazing workout. It's so much less stressful than a lot of things. Like I had a woman once comment on a YouTube video, and she was just doing it because that's what I guess everybody else is doing. You go into the gym and everybody's on the treadmill, like little hamsters. And she was just like, oh my gosh, I hate running, but this is how you burn off the calories. So she started running. And I mean, she could only deal with it for like a week. And she was like, I'm done. I can't, I hate this. And I was like, who says you have to run? Go take a walk. You like being, and then she didn't like being in the gym. She preferred to be outdoors.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's nothing that says you can't walk. I love walking. I walk every morning. That's like my favorite thing. And I told her, I was like, just walk, do what you enjoy. It's physical activity. If you want to crank up the calorie burn, swing your arms, speed walk, find some hills. And she's doing fine. She's losing weight. And now it's seamless. It's naturally a part of her lifestyle. She's not forcing herself to do something.
Right.
So exercise doesn't become work anymore. It's like you don't have to make exercise work. Like when you find that thing that you love, it's not going to be work. I mean, we say this when it comes to like entrepreneurship and all that other stuff, but it's the same thing with fitness. Just find the thing that you love and it's not going to be work.
Yeah, I love it. Wow. I love that you make things so simple. And for you, I'm curious to know, how do you stay on track yourself? I mean, having a healthy lifestyle and also being an entrepreneur and working with clients and marketing and all those different things, it takes time. How do you stay focused and productive in your own personal life? What are some strategies that you use?
Well, just because, like I said, I built my business and my brands firmly centered within healthy living. So it's literally like it's part of my job. I naturally like it, but then it's also part of my job because it's like you can't really motivate and give information and talk about something that you know nothing about. So, I mean, that's something that keeps me focused in the sense that I love learning about this. I'm constantly staying up on things and I'm just practicing that in my life. And then also, it allows me to be productive. Like honestly, I can still remember when I was a med student, I was overweight by about like 35 pounds and I could not do my rounds, without getting tired. When I would go upstairs, I would sweat, I was breathing heavily. I don't have those issues now. So I'm super, super productive because I'm energized, because I'm in shape. I just can get more done. It's just natural. When you are healthier and you're in shape and you're fit, you can get more stuff done. You're more productive.
How simple is that, ladies? Like if you want to be more productive, we should just all be healthier. That's really honestly my motivation. Like I'm not into, everyone who listens to this podcast knows I love my food. I love my sweets. I love my alcohol. I enjoy it because of my foodie. I love the taste of things. I love to taste things and all that. But for me, the main motivation for me to eat healthier is energy. I was diagnosed with anemia. And it was like a wake up call for me in terms of being an entrepreneur. How am I going to be a top performer in my business if I don't have the energy? And I know that having a better diet will give me more energy. It's not because I love green smoothies or I love, not having my carbs or whatever, at night. That's the main thing. And so I love that you just shared like, hey, look, this lifestyle helps me be productive and focused, because a lot of us, we did have that go-to to be like, oh, I need more coffee, or I need more this, or I need more that. And I thought that was my go-to too. I need a Coke. I need a coffee. I need an espresso. But really, I just needed to fix my diet. So I love that you shared that, because that was my only motivation to start doing this, was I want more energy.
Yeah. And it's like, what do you love more? Like, you can love a whole bunch of things, but what do you love more? Mm-hmm. And I think at the very core of us, at the most primal, maybe, you feel bad saying it. Like, I love myself a lot, mm-hmm. And I think all of us need to get to that point. And when you get to that point where it's like, I love me more than everything else, I love that I have a finite amount of time, or I love that I have the skill set and I have this passion. I want to achieve these certain things, but I have a finite amount of time to do it. Mm-hmm. Then it becomes laser focused. Then you just this is what I need to do, because I want more energy. I want more energy to check off all these things, this bucket list. I'm going to do what I need to do so I'm at optimal performance.
Yeah, totally. All the travel that we want to do, all the experiences we want to have, they all take energy. And mm-hmm. I know that we all want that too. So cool. Thank you for sharing that and reminding us of the power that comes with having this lifestyle.
Yeah.
Since I know you're also an entrepreneur, I can't let you go without asking you, what would your number one piece of advice be for that woman who is wanting to go off on her own and do her own thing and really turn her passion into a business? You have definitely done that. I mean, your whole life is your business, but yeah. I know that there are probably some things that you know now. Knowing what you know now, what do you wish someone had told you?
Well, if I had to give one tip, there's several, but if I had to give one tip, I would say build a business firmly centered in what you love. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Without question, what you love, because if it's going to be something successful that you really want to build a brand out of, then you're going to have to nurture it. You're going to have to give it all your time. There will be sleepless nights. And the only way you're going to be able to devote that and feel fulfilled at the end of the day and not feel tired because it doesn't feel like work is if you're doing something that you love. That's a mistake that I think a lot of people make out the gate. And it was something I feel fortunate, not that I haven't made mistakes in my business or brand. I mean, nothing's perfect, but that was something fortunately that I feel like a lesson that I learned early on while I was a med student. I saw things around me that I was just like, I need to do something I love and I need to do something that feeds me, like naturally feeds me. So I have the energy to just keep going and going and going. And it doesn't feel like work.
I love that. I think it's very underrated, that tip, because people are like, well, can this make money? I want to do something that makes me money. And then it's just like, you're creating another job for yourself. You might as well just stay at your job if you're going to do it just because it makes money. But there's so many ways now that we didn't have before that allow us to make money from our passion. So it's just a new world that we're living in.
Yeah, and it's awesome. So it's not like before where you probably felt like, you had to do things that you didn't particularly enjoy to make money. But I mean, if you're playing the long game, I will say, like if you're looking to create legacy, maybe even something to pass down to your children or what have you have to play that long game in doing what you love. You can't just go after the quick money, because then you're just going to be jumping from thing to thing to thing to thing, because you're eventually going to burn out. You are. So that's why I really believe that's the number one tip. And when you do that, I really believe everything falls into place. And what's going to happen is you're going to put yourself in a position where you're going to cross paths with individuals who I call it my tribe. Mm-hmm. You cross paths with people who share the same mentality as you. They share the same mission as you, the same focus as you. And then you end up building with those individuals. But when you go the route of just quick money, You feel nothing for what you're setting out to do. There's really no heart in it. You're going to come across individuals 9 times out of 10 who don't align with what you genuinely believe in your heart. And it's going to make the experience all the more painful because now you're surrounded by individuals that really don't feed you and don't play into the long game. So I would really say it's got to start there. If it's going to take some time, some introspection. I'm a big advocate of meditation. I love meditating. I meditate every morning. I think a lot of people just need to get a bit more introspective. For people who don't know what it is that they love and want to do, you're going to have to get very, very introspective, get very still, very quiet, and figure out what it is that you love. And then once the light bulb goes off, go all in on that.
I love it. We just keep getting this message on the podcast from other guests too about going all in. And I think it's just the ultimate in self-love, that you love yourself enough that you would completely give your all to that which you were called to do. And I just love that you're such a shining example of that, Dr. Phoenyx. And I have thoroughly enjoyed my time, short as it was, getting to know you today. And I'm sure this will not be our last conversation. So
no, time flew by.
I know. For those who are listening and they want to stay in touch with you and they want to get more of your knowledge and wisdom, where can they go to find out more about you?
They can go to my home base, so drphoenyx.com, drphoenyx.com. And there you can link up to my YouTube videos, my Instagram. And I'll also be sharing a link with you that we can share with folks for a newsletter sign up.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Dr. Phoenyx, for your time. And it was definitely a pleasure.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, ladies, with that, we shall see you next time. But don't forget that Dr. Phoenyx is just one of our amazing guests that we have had over the past year and a half on this podcast. You can go to our website at happyblackwoman.com and click on the podcast tab, and you can listen to all the incredible women who have shared so generously their advice and wisdom with you, all for free. Until next time, have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Happy Black Woman podcast. If you want all the show's notes from today's episode, go to happyblackwomanpodcast.com. Plus, we'll send you a copy of Rosetta's free life mapping workbook. We look forward to empowering you next time. And until then, do something this week that makes you happy.